Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in today's third video, doing GavsWeatherVids Sunday Round-Up for today's third video. So it's also on Sunday, we've got your eclectic mix of this about. We're looking at things like sea surface temperature, anomalies, solar activity, Arctic oscillation, North Atlantic oscillation, and the weather for the next week to 10 days and beyond as well. So sit back, relax and enjoy. And I shall talk you through the Sunday Round-Up in a second. It's a very, very big day at GavsWeatherVids today. We started with our 7 AM upload forecast. We released a summer 2021 forecast this morning, so that's released at 10 AM. And check out what we're forecasting for the summer. We've got a little sneak peek for autumn coming up later on this afternoon, probably around 3:30, something like that. And there'll be live streaming from 6 o'clock. No doubt there'll be a lot of questions about summer forecast in the live stream, so I shall see you live at 6 o'clock, and we'll have a chat about the, the summer forecast, and no doubt we'll look at some long range as well, as it is a Sunday live stream. If you're enjoying the content on the channel at the moment, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, doing that. I hope you're having a lovely Sunday. Right, let's turn off the webcam then, and we're going to start off having a look at solar activity. So this is how the solar disk is looking on our side of the disk today from solarham.net. We've got a couple of sunspot regions just here. Despite that, solar activity is at low levels and is expected to remain at low levels for the next 3 days. This will be GavsWeatherVids Solar Activity Tracker, updated by our good friend James Ackrill, keeper of the solar tracker. So the orange line depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. You can see that we're still having like minimal level of solar activity, really sunspots. So we did get like a bit of a spike there back in April, at the end of April to start of May. Then that sort of fell away. Since then, through May, we have been getting regular sunspots, but quite a low level of them. And where we are right now is just there. Actually, the trend line, so where we are right now is just there. And actually, the trend lines have a thick green and thick red lines. They are sort of ticking down once again. So it continues to be the case that solar cycle 25 is a slow starter. We're around 18 months now into the solar cycle. You would normally expect things to be picking up. Actually, this has been a slow start to the solar cycle, as we saw with the start of solar cycle 24, before this solar cycle. So I think we expect this to continue for a while longer. We will eventually start moving towards the maximum phase of this solar cycle, but I think it's going to be another weak cycle, as the last one was, due to the slow start that we have had with this solar cycle. You can see that, yes, the activity has ticked up. I mean, that's where we was back in 2020, just as we was coming out of solar minimum at a very, very low level. So we're ticked up from there, but we are still at a pretty low level, really, considering we're now 18 months into the solar cycle. Right, who am I today? Oh, it's Joey, or is it Joey Gav from Friends? I don't know. I have never watched Friends. That's one of the things that sort of passed me by, actually. Is that Matt LeBlanc? I think it is. So thank you, Rich, for turning me into Joey from Friends today. Right, so this is Spotless Days and the current Spotless Stretch. Put your teeth in, Gav. For the current spotless stretch, it's 0 days, because of course we had sunspots. Yes, it was already established via the solar disk. So for 2021 so far, we have 46 days without sunspots. That's 31% of the year. For 2020, we had 208 days. That was 57% of the year. So that percentage at the moment is actually stabilising, 31%. That's not really reducing any further. I thought, as going further on into the year, we would see that percentage of spotless days sort of reducing. But actually, that's holding up at the moment. I think it will reduce, by the end of the year. I will think the percentage will be perhaps down to around 20% or less of the year. But at the moment, that's actually holding quite steady. This is a bit of a surprise, given that, again, we're going further on into solar cycle 25. Of course, our solar minimum year was 2019, which had 261 days, 77% of the year without sunspots. It's all comparable to the last solar cycle, or last beginning of a solar cycle, which is 24. So solar minimum year for 23-24 was 2008, had 73% of the year without sunspots. 2009, first year of solar cycle 24, had 71% of the days without sunspots. And then 2010 had 14% of the days without sunspots, which, again, for the second year, solar cycle is quite a high percentage. So it's very comparable, really, at the moment. Maybe even a little bit weaker, a little bit slower compared to solar cycle 24. But it is early days in the solar cycle. Maybe we look at solar activity because there's a connection to blocking. So when you come out of a solar minimum, you increase the risk of blocking. I've seen a lot of blocking over the past few months, of course. You know, we've really gone to town with high latitude blocking over the past few months, which is quite typical as you come out of a solar minimum, especially along solar minimum. So when you have the greatest chance of northern blocking and thus a colder winter for northern Europe, you know, in the 1 or 2 years out of solar minimum, especially if it's been quite a long solar minimum. So in theory, the coming winter should have an increased chance of more northern blocking, as again we're coming out of quite a long solar minimum. But anyway, thank you to James and also to Richard for sending through the data. Right, this is how the oceans were looking last week. I did last week's GavsWeatherVids Sunday Round-Up. We've got 4 areas of interest today. So we've got the ENSO region just here in the equatorial Pacific. Got the Northern Pacific over there. Got the North Atlantic over here. We're going to look at the Indian Ocean today as well. See what the IOD is being forecast to do, the Indian Ocean dipole. So that's how things were looking in the oceans last week. Last week's Sunday Round-Up. This is the very latest. Let's deal with the ENSO region first of all. This is the 28th of May. So ENSO region, very little change there. We're at ENSO neutral. We've left La Nina behind. We've gone to ENSO neutral. We're waiting to see where we go next. If we go anywhere, we might stay at ENSO neutral for the rest of the year, of course. Not every year has an El Nino or a La Nina, so this year might just stick at ENSO neutral for the rest of the year. But we're waiting to see what's going to happen there. No change. Let's go back to last week. No change in the ENSO region. In the Northern Pacific, things are warming up in the Northern Pacific Ocean just here. So again, ever warmer there. And this area of cold and average sea surface temperature anomalies around the coast of Alaska and North America sort of shrinking. Although just here, we have got quite a strong and large negative or cold and average sea surface temperature anomaly. That's left over from the La Nina, so that may start to fade away as the La Nina fades away. But at the moment, it's like a cold PDO signature. But we have got this big warmer than average area just to the north of that. In the Atlantic, so let's go back and have a look at how things looked in the Atlantic last week. That's where we're looking now. That's how it looked last week. This is how it looks this week. No real change there. It's still pretty warm just here. It's cooler through here, and then it's generally warmer through here. I will say no more about that. We've got the winter 2021-22 NAO forecast being released 1 week today. It'll be premiered at 2 p.m. next Sunday. It'll be based on May sea surface temperature anomalies in the Atlantic. I shall say no more, or else I'll be letting cats out of the bag, other than to say it will be quite an interesting NAO forecast for winter 2021-22 that we've got coming up for you next Sunday. So next Sunday is a very, very big day. The NAO forecast is about the biggest video that we do on the channel all year. It's being released next Sunday. Going to be premiered, 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So Yeah, going to be an interesting day next Sunday. Right, let's come over to, and I'll say no more than that, let's come over to the Indian Ocean then, just here. So you'll see that we have got like cooler than average sea surface temperature anomalies just here in the eastern part of the Indian Ocean, and then it's warmer over here. This is a negative IOD, a negative Indian Ocean dipole signature. Now, we started looking at the IOD in last year's winter updates. I think we'll probably look at the IOD again in this year's winter updates as well, because there does seem to be a connection. You remember we had the very, very warm winter of 1920, and at least part of that was probably associated with a very strong positive phase of the IOD, and that's where you get like the reverse of this. So a positive IOD phase would be to get it warmer there in the eastern Indian Ocean and cooler there in the western Indian Ocean, and that seemed to have an effect on the jet stream and gave us, one of the reasons. Anyway, there's probably several things at work, but one of the reasons we had a very mild and Atlantic-driven zonal westerly winter for 2019-2020, probably down to the positive IOD phase. We've got the complete flip of that at the moment. We've got cool there and warm there, which is a negative IOD phase. It looks like, this is from the Bureau of Meteorology, it looks like a negative phase of the IOD is favoured for this summer, certainly for the early part of the summer. So a negative IOD phase is like half a degree below average, a positive IOD phase like half a degree above average. Within half a degree either side, that would be like a neutral phase of the IOD. So for June, the percentages here are seeming like a 65% from forecast models, 65.7% probability of a negative IOD, and that carries on into July as well, 67% chance of a negative IOD. Notice very, very low chances for June and July of a positive IOD, then sort of balanced chance around 30% chance of neutral. But it looks like we're probably going to have a negative phase of the IOD through the earlier part of the summer, and then that percentage, as we go further out, you expect confidence to fall, so that percentage gradually falls and begins to switch over, so with neutral. So by the time we get through to October and November, for example, it looks like by that point the probabilities are favouring like a neutral IOD, around 50 to 60 or 70% chance of neutral IOD, and the negative IOD, the chances of that sort of reducing a lot, 23% in October, 14% in November. So by autumn, it looks like we're likely to be back into like a neutral IOD phase. But certainly through the summer, it looks like the IOD is going to be in its negative phase, and not really all that much of a chance of a positive IOD right the way through to the autumn either. So if you think that the winter, the very mild zonal westerly Atlantic-driven winter 2019-2020 was at least partly driven by the very, very strong positive IOD phase that's set up through late summer and into autumn 2019. The fact that it looks like there's not going to be a positive IOD for the rest of the year, it's either going to be negative or neutral. That probably is good news if you're waiting for a cold winter for 2021-22. But again, it's very early days on that. I'm not sure how reliable these forecast probabilities are. So we'll look at it all in depth anyway when we get through to our winter updates. Which is going to be starting in just 3 months' time now. Absolutely incredible that it's only got another 3 months, then we begin winter updates again. Right, this is how the solar oscillation index is. Remember, the SOI is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. It's not driving anything its own terms, just tells what the atmosphere is doing so when the SOI is in it's looking at air pressures in the southern Pacific Ocean, essentially measuring air pressures between Darwin and Tahiti. So when the SOI is in its positive phase, atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. When the SOI is in negative phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of El Nino. Right, let's see what the latest numbers are. So these are our columns for Tahiti air pressure and Darwin air pressure, and this is the overall SOI number. So we have got a little bit more negativity of the SOI creeping in at the moment. So if we go back to like the 19th of May, then we have a positive number at 6.22. 20th of May, we have a positive number at 8 plus 1.4. And 23rd of May, have a positive number at 6.68. Since then, though, we've got a little bit negative. So 24th of May at minus 7.95. That's more reflective of El Nino. So these numbers, these positive numbers, more reflective of La Nina. These negative numbers, though, more reflective of El Nino. 25th of May is down to minus 12.31. They've got latest days like 28th of May, minus 6, 29th of May, minus 11, and 30th of May, minus 10. So that is telling us that the atmospheric setup at the moment is actually a little bit reflective of an El Nino type setup in the Southern Ocean. That's not necessarily to say that we're going to go into an El Nino. Obviously, if we was to keep negativity of the SOI going for several weeks, possibly 2 or 3 months, then we would start to see the ocean responding to that, and we would probably start to see an El Nino beginning to get going within the ocean. But at the moment, that's just a few days worth of data, and you know we're solidly in ENSO neutral at the moment. We're waiting to see whether we'll swing to El Nino or swing back to La Nina, or whether we'll just stay ENSO neutral, and all will be revealed, of course. Right, this is how the QBO is looking. The EC QBO is on its way. This is from NASA. So with this, you have to think that this is like the levels of the atmosphere just here. So right here, we've got 10 HPA up in the stratosphere. And then we've got 30 HPA there to 50 HPA. So 30, 50 HPA is like the troposphere. And these are like depicting the east and west QBO phases. Again, the QBO just reflects the atmospheric state. It's telling us how strong the zona westerlies are, essentially. So when you're in easterly QBO, you're weakening the zona westerlies, you have a greater chance of blocking. Again, this is particularly a winter driver, although we do look at it all year round. I think there is an impact all year round. It's primarily a winter driver, as that's when the zona westerlies become most important for Northern Europe and for the North Atlantic. So when you're in ECQBO, you weaken the zona westerlies, thus you have a greater chance of high latitude blocking. When you are in a westerly QBO phase, you strengthen the zona westerlies, and you have a greater chance of, stronger zonal flow. So basically, in ECQBO, you've got an increased chance of a cold winter. Westerly QBO, you've got an increased chance of a mild winter for Northern Europe. But it's not as simple as that, because there are many easterly QBO winters that are mild, and there are some westerly QBO winters that are cold. Right, so the last proper easterly QBO phase is now virtually disappearing off the map. It's just here, off the chart. Just here, this blue-green area there. It's a long time ago now, from 2017 to 2018, and very soon that last proper easterly QBO phase is going to be gone. After that, we went, of course, into a long westerly QBO phase through 2018-19, and then the next easterly QBO phase should have started in 2020 and should probably be ending any time around now. Really, this blue-green area just here was, or should have been, the next ECQBO phase. It should have descended from the stratosphere to the troposphere, and like that one did. It failed, and so the westerly QBO sort of hung around and then re-strengthened through the second half of 2020 and carrying on into 2021. The ECQBO never completely went away from the stratosphere, though. You'll see that in the stratospheric level, the ECQBO phase was always there or thereabouts. And over the past couple of months, 2 or 3 months, the ECQBO has been strengthening within the stratosphere again, and has been, starting to push down into the troposphere. And you can see that happening from this nice, smooth, sort of curved line from the stratosphere into the troposphere that we see there. in contrast to what we have here, where it never really pushes down smoothly. ECQBO never really pushes down smoothly from the stratosphere to the troposphere. Let's zoom in, and you'll be able to see that the ECQBO is definitely pushing down into the troposphere. So again, you have to think that this is the stratosphere just here, and then this is where the troposphere is. And you can see how this is just descending nice and smoothly now from the stratosphere into the troposphere. The colours are intensifying. The blue colours, are getting deeper and intensifying. So that tells us that this is a strengthening easterly QBO, and it is also pushing down towards the troposphere. In fact, he's just about into the troposphere now, but it may take a little while to properly bed in to the troposphere. So, I've said before, I think the ECQBO this time is going to strengthen and descend, and we're going to go into an ECQBO base. I don't think we're going to get a failure like we had last year. Famous last words, but that looks like a very smooth, very smooth and proper transition and descension from the stratosphere to the troposphere with the ECQBO. So I think the ECQBO is on its way. I think winter 2021-22 will be an easterly QBO. Winter will probably be quite strong by then. I'll say no more than that. Right, so this is how the Arctic oscillation is currently looking. Again, it's just an index that's reflecting atmospheric state, does not drive anything. So term just tells us what the atmosphere is doing. When the AO is in its positive phase, you've got low pressure over the Arctic. When the AO is in negative phase, you'll have high pressure blocking over the Arctic. So through April into May, we had a negative Arctic oscillation phase. So we had quite a bit of blocking. One of the reasons we had quite a cold spring, or we've had quite a cold spring, is that we've had quite a lot of blocking. Since, although we didn't have that in March, actually had a positive AO in March. That was a milder month, of course, start spring off. Where we are right now, the Arctic oscillation is just there, which is around neutral. The GFS ensembles, as we go into June, forecasting that the Arctic oscillation is going to go positive. So we're going to lose any sort of blocking signal, certainly weaken any blocking signal into June, and send the AO into a positive phase. At the same time, the NAO, which has been in a negative phase through April and into May too, that also has returned to neutral now, and the NAO, for a while anyway, is being forecast into June to be positive again, although later on into perhaps the second week of June, there's a bit of a signal there for the NAO to start going a bit negative again. But certainly for like the first week of June anyway, looks like the NAO is going to be positive. So this tells us we're seeing a strengthening of the Azores high. We're losing the blocking. We're seeing a strengthening of the Azores high. We're definitely going to see the weather becoming warmer, and we're going to have quite a warm start to June and quite a warm start to the summer. How long that lasts, of course, remains to be seen. If the NAO does start to trend negative again further on into June, we might start to set up a colder, wetter pattern again as we had in May. But certainly for a while anyway, it looks like both the indexes are going into a positive phase, which is going to imply a strengthening of the Azores high, and that will give us warmer and drier weather. Right, let's do some forecasting. So this is how the GFS upper air temperature precipitation ensembles are looking for the next couple of weeks. We're at Brighton today. Red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Brighton. We're quite close to average with the upper air temperatures at the moment. They're going to lift up further over the next few days. It's actually going to become very warm as we go into the early to middle part of next week. And then we're keeping it above average. I've got a bit of uncertainty, though, from around second half of next week onwards. So dates on the bottom of the chart, of course. So the headline, I suppose, is that we're keeping it warmer than average. However, we're always consistently above the long-term 30-year average. But we have got these very warm to hot members up here, which does include the GFS operation run, this thick green line just here. You're going to see it in a moment. It's actually quite hot through the second half of next week and into the first weekend of June. It looks like as we move into the second week of June, this period just here, we will still be above average at a slightly reduced level though. But generally it looks pretty warm, I have to say. Yesterday's video was sort of titled Warm First Half of June. does look as though the first half of June is likely to be pretty warm, I think. The question is, how warm will it get? Precipitation-wise, there's going to be a lot of dry weather over the next few days. Gradually next week, it will start to turn more south, and there will be an increasing risk of thunderstorms, especially perhaps into the first weekend of June. Right, where are we on the temps? Let's see. Temperature anomalies from the 30th of May to the 7th of June are going to be warmer than average. Quite significantly so, actually, for much of northern and western Europe. So it's a proper warm week that we've got to come. Precipitation anomalies from the 30th of May to 7th of June, a little bit wetter than average for western areas, drier than average for eastern parts of the country. Latest wind flow map from earthnullschool.net shows that we are drawing in east or southerly winds. We've got southerly winds just to our west up here, and then the rest of the country like under an easterly flow via high pressure that's sitting to our northeast. So we've definitely lost those cold northerlies anyway. They've been pushed off over to eastern and northeastern parts of Europe over there. Right, so this is how the UK Met is looking for Wednesday. So on Wednesday, we've got high pressure over Scandinavia. Let's put the webcam back up for this part of the video, shall we? There we go, back. Right, so for Wednesday with the UK Met, we've got a high pressure over Scandinavia. We've got a thundery low down to our southwest. That could bring the first push of thunderstorms up western side of the country around the middle part of next week. Otherwise, quite a lot of dry weather middle of next week and still pretty warm. Let's see what happens after that. So that thundery low trundles up the western side, takes the risk of thunderstorms through the west. Meanwhile, eastern areas likely to stay dry and still quite warm. Friday next week, we begin to pull in a little bit more of a westerly southwest. So that'll be a bit cooler, and then we start getting a ridge building through the country as well. So for eastern and southern areas, it probably never really turns unsettled, actually. Next week, the thundery weather is out west midweek. It looks like by 144 hours, as far as we go with the UK Met to the 5th of June, we're under high pressure and looking mainly dry again, away from Scotland anyway. This is how the GFS midnight run is looking. So, again, we've got thundery low just to our south here on Wednesday, around Biscay, high pressure over Scandinavia, winds pulling in from like a southeasterly direction. Through the second half of next week, that low pressure trundles up west side of the country, again, taking risk of thunderstorms up western side of the country, but not breaking things down. And actually, the GFS midnight run starts pulling a very warm or possibly quite hot southerly flow here at the end of next week. That's how the upper air temperature look for Friday, with the plus 10 Celsius isoform right up to the north of Scotland by that point. That will probably get temperatures into the upper 20s Celsius, you know, in the south and in southeast, into the 80s Fahrenheit. Another very warm or hot day suggested for Saturday, 5th of June. Again, we are bringing like a thundery trough up from France, though. And that, by midnight on Sunday, that is actually developing into a thundery area of low pressure. So next weekend sees a growing threat, along with hot temperatures, probably, maybe even approaching 30 degrees with that next weekend. But with that, there's a growing threat of thunderstorms from this thundering area of low pressure. Eventually, by the time we get through the second week of June, we begin to move that thundery trough away. We get high pressure re-establishing to our north, still bringing in wind from the east, still pretty warm, just a little bit lower with the temperature. By day 10, that's how we're looking, which is the 9th of June, high pressure then hinting at returning towards northern blocking, I have to say. So high pressure then is like between Iceland and Norway. Low pressure is still across France, so it could still be a bit thundering for the south. Still looking pretty warm up to this point. Into the extended range with a GFS midnight run. Again, very blocked, isn't it, in the extended range? See all of this high pressure around Iceland and Greenland. Low pressure is developing in the middle of the Atlantic. No sign up to the end of a GFS midnight run, but this low pressure will start to undercut the block. But that is a high level of northern blocking that we've got there around Greenland through the latter stages of this GFS midnight run up to the middle of June. It could be suggestive that we're going to start moving into a colder, wetter pattern for the second half of June if this area of low pressure starts rolling in underneath the block. It's inconclusive though. But before we get to that, we've got a lot of warm, dry, even at times quite hot weather there from the GFS midnight run. Bear in mind, it was a bit of a warm, perhaps not a warm outlier, but it was certainly at the warmest end of the range though. Right, GM, again, high pressure in Scandinavia, low pressure to our southwest on Wednesday will bring a risk of thunderstorms at the western side of the country around the middle part of the week. Ireland could get a lot of storms from this. We have quite a few people watching from Ireland, so hello to all of you. And yeah, you might get some big thunderstorms from this low around Wednesday into Thursday. Meanwhile, for northern eastern parts of the British Isles, likely to be mainly dry. Into the end of the week, again, we've got this low pressure being pushed out to the northwest. Another ridge sort of establishing from the southwest. So it never really breaks down in the east. It stays quite warm through most of the week. And then up towards day 10, the GM still has this ridge going. So the GM is suggesting quite a lot of high pressure up to day 10 as well, keeping all of these areas of low pressure at bay out in the Atlantic Ocean. And we've got the ECM looking like that. So again, risk of some thunderstorms for the west on Wednesday. That might be a little bit further eastwards as well with those storms. I think the trough is just extending a little bit further eastwards Wednesday into Thursday. Then on Friday, it looks like another thundery low starting to push up from the south there, Friday into Saturday. Will be very warm though. Again, very similar to what the GFS is showing, but a proper old thundery low then gets going next weekend. So this suggests there could be a lot of heavy showers, thunderstorms, maybe longer spells of thundery rain in more southern and east areas. Out of the three, I think the ECM is probably, you know, the one that's really going to town this morning on risk of thunderstorms next weekend. And then beyond that, the high pressure just re-establishes. It will be within a cooler, fresher air mass after that thundering interlude, but the high pressure is back in over top of the country by day 10, suggesting that there's going to be a lot of dry and warm weather, or even very warm weather, continuing into the middle of next week. This is the precipitation type forecast based on that ECM run from Tameteo.com. So, again, lots of dry weather to come through the rest of the bank holiday weekend into the early part of next week. Also, lots of dry weather with western Scotland. Missing the first push of thundery showers, perhaps running up the western side of the country around the middle part of next week. That might deliver some thunderstorms to those more western areas. A few further eastwards as well, potentially. And then into next weekend, here comes the next push of potentially heavy rain or thunderstorms or both. And that's for more southern and eastern areas. How exciting does that look for those in the east? All of that gets out of the way, and then the high pressure re-establishing as run up towards day 10. Still a few showers around, but generally turning drier and still pretty warm, I would have thought, although a bit cooler in pressure up to day 10. Right, we just turn webcam off, and we will have a look at CFS V2 for June, and then we're done. So this is the 700 millibar height anomaly today from the CFS for June. So this is how it's looking above average heights in over the top of the UK and extending back to Scandinavia as well. That will give us a very dry and warm June if that was to come off. CFS has been very consistent about this for a long time now. Temperature anomalies for June are above average, a warm and average June coming up. Precipitation anomalies are a little bit drier than average. I would expect it to be significantly drier than that, though, with such a strong high pressure signal for June. And of course, we will show you the options on the table within the ECM ensembles and the CFS V2 weeklies in our live stream from 6 o'clock. They won't be updating for another hour or so, and I'm going to get the video recorded, get the video recorded, so I haven't got time to wait for them to update. But we will show you that data, of course, as part of our live stream. And that will be from 6 p.m. this evening. We will show you the 12Z, what 12Z we can. And we'll show you some long range in the live stream as well from the CFS. Right, so if you enjoyed the video, then please can you smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. You'll be able to see future weather content if you give us a sub. Tell friends, family, everybody else who subscribe. Thank you so much for doing this for GavsWeatherVids. And drop a comment, let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. And we're done. Okay, so that's it for Sunday Roundup for this week. Hope you found it interesting and informative. Don't forget, we've got a little extra video coming up for you in a couple of hours' time. So going to be having a sneak peek for autumn. We've released a summer forecast today, which means the long-range bandwagon rolls on. The next season we'll be rolling on to will be autumn. Autumn updates will be starting in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks today, which I think is the 13th of June. That'll be update number 1 for autumn. I've got a little sneak peek of that for you later on this afternoon. And then, of course, live stream at 6 p.m. Tomorrow, we've got our historic videos. Bank Holiday Monday, of course, tomorrow. I'll be having the day off, and I'm ready for it, I can tell you that. So, got part 2 of 1970. Did part 1 with the last Bank Holiday Monday, which covered, like, winter 69, 70 and spring 1970. You will now see what the summer of 1970 and the autumn of 1970 was like, as well as the winter of 1970, 1971. It's already recorded. I don't have to worry about it. Just got to upload it and you'll be able to see it from 10 a.m. Tomorrow. But before then, autumn sneak peek, and we're live streaming from 6 p.m. For the Sunday Roundup for this week, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.